Becky, today we'll talk about how we go about providing the good teaching we've discussed.
All right.
That good teaching is called active treatment.
You said active treatment is teaching the client to become more independent?
Yes, active treatment's really nothing new. Good parents and good teachers do it all the time by setting up situations for the learner to succeed at becoming more independent.
Well, like how?
Well, they assess what the learner knows and plan what to teach next. They teach by building on the knowledge the learner already has, like teaching multiplication after the learner knows how to add.
Because multiplication is easier to learn after understanding addition.
Right. Good teachers teach what's needed whenever possible and make adjustments along the way.
That's active treatment?
That's it. To help the clients succeed toward greater independence, we use a 4-step active treatment process.
Specially developed for use here?
No. The active treatment process that we use here follows the same common sense steps you'd use to solve just about any problem. Suppose your car stopped on the side of the road. What would you do first?
I'd check the fuel gauge to see how much gas I have, and if I have gas, I'd lift the hood to see if a wire was loose.
That's called assessing the situation. Assessment's the first step in solving the problem.
So assessment is looking to see what's needed.
Right. And you might involve others.
Like mechanics, parts people.
They're your team of experts. You'd also assess your resources.
Like how much money I have to pay for repairs.
Right. Once you and your team have assessed your needs, your next step is to develop a plan. Maybe you found the fuel pump leaks, you have a bald tire, and you need new seat covers. You've got limited dollars, so what's your plan?
To replace the fuel pump and the tire, and forget about the seat covers for now.
Right. That's called setting priorities. You know, most important things first. Most important is to get your car running and running safe by replacing the pump and tires. Go for looks later when you can afford it.
Makes sense.
Next step is to implement your plan.
That means getting the car fixed.
Sure. And once the car's been fixed, you review the repair work and make adjustments. Reviewing is the last step.
Now, reviewing the repair work means test driving the car and checking the tires before paying the bill.
Right. The 4 steps we just used to prepare your car for the road are the steps of the active treatment process used to prepare clients for independence. Active treatment process, step 1. Assess the situation, what the individual can and can't do. Step 2. Plan what to teach by setting priorities. Step 3. Implement and actively teach what's needed. Step 4. Review the individual's progress and make adjustments. And then we return to step 1 on a yearly basis.
So the first step is an assessment?
Yes. On admission to the program, we receive reports and other information about each client. Let's use Robin as an example. Team members have 30 days to make whatever other assessments they need to understand Robin's strengths and needs, what she can and can't do.
By assessments, do you mean tests?
Well, assessment can involve doing tests like baseline assessments that tell us how well a person is performing an activity, like dressing or bathing. Assessment can also involve watching the person adjust to new surroundings, meet new people, learn a new routine. Assessments produce data that we use in planning.
What kind of data?
Well, we need to know details, like exactly what clothing Robin puts on, whether she fastens buttons and zippers, and what help she needs each step of the way.
Well, how do I know what to assess?
A thorough assessment provides data on 10 major life areas called developmental domains.
What do the domains cover?
All relevant aspects of the client's development.
Relevant?
Well, different behavior is relevant at different ages. If the person's school-aged, we assess school behaviors.
So assessment is different for different people.
That's right. It's individualized.
What happens once all the assessment data is obtained?
It's shared among team members so we can plan what the individual is to do on a daily basis to become more independent.
There's a lot to assessment, isn't there?
Yes, it's really the first step in preparing the client for success. Now, step 2 of the active treatment process is to plan the client's habilitation program. This plan is called an Individual Program Plan, or IPP for short.
I think I've heard the initials IPP mentioned. So it means Individual Program Plan. Why is it called an Individual Program Plan?
Because the IPP is tailored to the individual's strengths and needs. A prepackaged approach doesn't work.
Who participates in developing the IPP?
Members of the treatment team who represent the client's wants and needs. We include the client, and for clients who have one, their guardian.
It makes sense to have the person you're planning for as a participant.
Other team members work here or at outside agencies that serve the client. If an individual needs physical therapy, a physical therapist is a team member. If an individual attends school, a school teacher is a team member.
So the individual program plan is developed by the team, and it's based on the assessment data.
The IPP includes objectives for teaching the client and covers related treatment issues.
But I'm sure you could find hundreds of needs if you looked hard enough.
You're right. In the assessment phase, we turn up many needs for each individual. It's impossible to meet those needs all at once, so team members look at the individual's strengths and needs and set priorities.
What needs to be done first?
Yes, and how we can build on what the person already knows.
Like teaching addition first and then multiplication.
Right. Suppose you couldn't use the toilet or feed yourself or go to work or make your bed. What would you want to learn to do first?
Oh, I'd want to learn to use the toilet and feed myself so I could keep myself clean and eat when I wanted to.
Same for clients. High priority are teaching basic skills related to dignity and privacy of personal care like eating, bathing, dressing, and toileting. And then we also want to teach communication of those basic needs.
Like saying that I want to use the bathroom.
Or being able to use sign language or signal that I'm hungry or thirsty. Once the individual's needs have been identified and prioritized, we select the top 5 or 6 and develop specific behavior objectives to meet those needs.
What's a behavioral objective?
It's a statement of what the client is going to learn and when we expect the client to learn it.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. From the list of developmental strengths, we know that Robin can take off her pants, but she can't put on her pants.
So we'd teach Robin to put on her pants.
Well, true, that's building on what she already knows, but putting on pants is a complex task. We need to break it down into a smaller chunk, like pulling the pants up to her waist. That's a skill that Robin can accomplish in a reasonable period of time. Once she learns that, she can go on to learn to fasten her pants. Becky, why do you think the objective is so specific?
Well, if the objective is vague, it's harder to carry out.
Right. A vague objective isn't very workable.
You said that for each objective, there's a program.
For the client to succeed, we need to specify the who, what, when, and where of teaching. We do that by writing a structured program for each objective. A program describes how to teach the skills specified in the objective.
Like how to go about teaching fastening a bra, tying shoes, or sweeping a floor.
Right. Or it may be the plan for dealing with inappropriate behavior, like when a person becomes physically aggressive.
This is planned teaching, not just leave it to chance type of teaching.
In the IPP, we also address any related treatment issues designed to help the client be more independent.
Like what?
Well, like mechanical supports for proper body positioning. You remember Rod's wheelchair? The IPP assures that people with disabilities experience the full range of activities that people without disabilities experience.
Great.
Now, step 3 of the active treatment process is to implement the program plan and actively teach the client.
If the program isn't implemented, it can't be successful.
You're right. So, we start with the client schedule. The schedule is a blueprint to shape the client's experiences during the day.
Sounds pretty rigid.
Well, the schedule is meant to be flexible so that the teaching in the IPP is carried out in as many daily routines as possible.
Daily routines?
Well, the same kind of routines you and I have. Get up, get dressed, go to work, hobbies. That way the individuals have many opportunities to learn the same sort of behaviors in a variety of circumstances.
Why?
Because learning's more effective that way.
There's a lot of work that goes into having the client succeed.
Sure is. And we implement the program whenever and wherever it's needed.
Like teaching hand washing not once a day, but before and after meals and before and after personal care routines.
Yes. Clients have difficulty doing what they learned in one place somewhere else.
I have that problem too.
We all do. But that means we need to be consistent so that a person isn't being rewarded for one behavior here, but ignored for that behavior over there.
What about when a program fails?
Well, we have to continually attack the false belief that a client can't achieve an objective by being creative and trying new things.
How do we know if the client is making progress?
We record data on the client's response to a program. That gives us a way to evaluate progress and make decisions.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Say you're teaching someone to feed himself with a fork. It's not enough to say, I think he's doing better. You need to know how many forkfuls of food the person brought to his mouth. Now, the fourth step in the active treatment process is to review the individual program plan.
Who's responsible for the review?
A qualified mental retardation professional called a QMRP is responsible.
When the IPP is reviewed, what's looked for?
We want to know when a client is progressing as expected, or when a client is progressing faster than expected, or when a client isn't making progress. We want to know when a client is losing a skill or when a client has a new need. Objectives can be added and programs changed at any time. Let's face it, we're not perfect. Sometimes we judge wrong. Sometimes things happen beyond our control. Success for us is measured in our ability to make quick adjustments.
And we can make those adjustments because we know from the data how the client's progressing for each objective, right?
Right. And because we go out and observe the programs as they're being conducted.
Can't you just tell from the data?
Now, the only way to tell whether the data is accurate is to go see the program as it's being run. Now, each year, we reassess the client's progress by updating the assessments and revising the IPP.
Well, that's how we started out, isn't it?
Sure it is. It's kind of a self-correcting process.
Sounds good.
As I said earlier, the active treatment process is really nothing mysterious.
First, you assess the client's strengths and needs, and then you make a plan to meet the top prioritized needs.
Exactly. That plan is called the IPP.
And that stands for Individual Program Plan.
The IPP specifies the skills we want to teach.
Those are the objectives, and there may be 5 or 6 objectives that are worked on at a time.
Yes. How do we go about teaching the skills?
There's a program for each objective that explains how, when, and where to do the teaching.
Right. The next step is to implement the program.
We teach a skill wherever and whenever possible. There's a client schedule that outlines when and where teaching occurs.
We record data to know how the client's progressing on each objective.
That helps on the next step, when the IPP is reviewed. We can tell from the data how well the client's doing.
And make any needed changes. Active treatment is implementing the IPP whenever it's needed.
Once a year, we reassess the situation, the old assessments are updated, and the IPP is revised.
That's right. Active treatment is measured in terms of success. If clients are growing and learning, it'll be obvious. The person could do some things today that she couldn't do last week. This process goes on every day of the year. Well, that's all for today. See you next time.